Mr. Mohan, thank you for joining us and waiting. I'll just highlight some key points in your submission. I understand that you are a Chief Program Officer, so you are quite attuned to technology. In fact, the first part of your submission, you talk about online bots.
Yeah.
Yes. You shared that online falsehoods are often spread by online bots which post fake content on regular basis. You also allude to an article from The Atlantic. That is correct?
Yeah. That's correct, yeah.
You then express some concern that the elderly may not recognize that not all content posted on websites are done by other people.
Yeah.
And that it is critical for the elderly to recognize that bots may be used to shape public opinions. Would you like to elaborate on that?
Okay, first of all, I'd just like to say that I'm a Chief Program Officer, but not on programming or technical, more for elderly programs. Okay, yeah.
Oh, I understand. I'm sorry.
Yeah, the
I
second thing
apologize.
on the bots, the bots is something which quite common nowadays. It just comes out on WhatsApp or Facebook and all that. Somebody's view and somebody's idea, he wants to send a false message and all that. So the bots automatically send out this message. And for elderly, WhatsApp is, or social Facebook and all that, is a way of communicating with another elderly to tell them that whatever they receive, they just send it to another elderly, telling them. Actually, they don't know what's in the content, but just to let them know I'm still alive today. Like saying good morning, they just send the message out without realizing what is the content is all about. And for elderly perspective, is they don't know what is false. So everything is like, you just send out a message to them and say that, hi, this message I'm sending to you. For the other elderly, you say, hey, this guy so-and-so just send a message to me that we are still communicating with each other. So that's how they use WhatsApp for. So bots usually comes out with sometimes messages which is not true, and they will automatically record. For example, I can just cite two incidents. One incident, which one of the supermarket in Singapore was giving away gift vouchers.
Yes.
So a lot of elderlies were quite excited. They went down to collect their gift vouchers, thinking they'll get it, but they did not get it. So what happened? They came back and they started to make noise. Why we didn't get it?
So this is the NTUC gift voucher incident, because we did talk about it with NTUC last week when you were here. Yes.
So they were not happy about it, and then they started to make a lot of comments and negative comments. And at that point of time, if we knew about it earlier, we could have solved the problem faster actually. So we ourselves did not know what was it real or fake and all that. So in that part, the government should have come out very timely and passed the message accurately to the ground that this is false. Okay. So in that situation, I will take another scenario. The same time, when these guys who did not get the NTUC voucher, few weeks later, a group of elderly went for outing, and they were given NTUC vouchers by this organization. But there was a gift actually. So when they come back, they share in WhatsApp to their friends that, hey, I received my NTUC voucher. So this guy who went down to NTUC, who did not get it, start to boil out. Say, hey, how come that guy got it and I didn't get it? So it becomes very difficult actually, and it causes attention. Sometimes it can become a racial problem. If this group was a minority going out for an outing and they get it, and this group who get, then it can become a tension, a racial problem. It's like, hey, how come that group got the NTUC and I didn't get it?
Thank you, Mr. Mohan. Maybe we just go back a few steps.
Okay.
I made a mistake earlier on your occupation. Could I just find out which VWO are you from? Because you said you work specifically with elderly.
Yeah, Sunlove Home.
Okay. And you mentioned an interesting point that there could be a conflation of online falsehoods with what happens in real life.
Yeah.
You gave the example of some elderly going for an outing. serendipitously they got NTUC vouchers. People conflate it with the original online falsehood, which I understand is probably was circulated on WhatsApp.
Yes.
Because that's what the elderly people were mostly using.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yes.
And I think you made the interesting point that sometimes when the elderly forward messages, which could potentially be an online falsehood, to their friends, they could be doing it without realizing that the information is false.
Yes.
They could be doing it just to say hello, good morning
just,
to their
just to
friends.
keep in touch, yeah.
And that somebody sent it to them, so I'm just forwarding it.
Yeah.
So in that sense, the online falsehood is being spread unknowingly,
Yes.
in this case by the elderly.
Yes.
Okay. I would like to go back to your submission on page 1, whereby you pointed out that online falsehoods could be spread to influence public opinion. I'm not sure whether you heard the submissions by some of the witnesses yesterday. Some witnesses were of the view that the influence of online falsehoods are debatable. Yesterday, when there was evidence presented that even with large number of followers on Facebook, and that when there were millions, I think over 50 millions of impression on Facebook, that the influence of the number of followers and number of impressions does not correlate to the amount of influence these online falsehoods have. Would you agree with that view?
Actually, I don't agree. I think there's a lot of influence on online falsehood. And normally when something comes out in like some of these, what do you call that? From these organizations who comes out with falsehood and all that, it affects the public quite a lot. And sometimes we ourselves also quite misleading. We mislead, and then we tend to talk about it to others, about this falsehood, whatever, some of the articles that are coming out, and it influence others also.
Okay, just so that I understand you correctly, what you're saying is that you do not agree with a viewpoint that online falsehoods may not necessarily have influence. I think that was the view that some...
online falsehoods have influence.
Yes, so what you're saying is that online falsehoods have influence. That is your view.
Yeah.
And it is a view that is evidenced based on your interaction with people on the ground.
Yes.
In your case, specifically with elderly on the ground.
Specifically with elderly, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you said that you are aware of instances whereby people who have encountered online falsehoods then talk about them and, about how it has impacted them.
Yes. Yeah. The other one I'd like to share is happened about a few weeks ago. This guy is a celebrity, a well-known singer in the 70s and 80s, but still now. And someone sent a WhatsApp that he passed away. Okay, and some of these elderly who knows him and were connected to him in the 70s, 80s from his Mediacorp days and all that, and they felt very sad. They came up and said that how come this guy passed away suddenly? He's so, and they were like emotionally carrying it with themselves, And then later on, after 1-2 days, there was a post that said that it was false. But we went back to tell the elderly that it was false, and the elderly couldn't accept it. I think 2 days of mourning, 2 days of crying, and they couldn't accept that it was false. They actually wanted to go to his house to double check. So then later, I think we managed to tell them that it's all false news and all that. But at the same time, I mean, if the elderly can have this kind of feeling, what happened to the real person who is still alive and this false news say that he's already dead? What kind of trauma his family be going through? Quite a lot, actually. Yeah. So this kind of thing, I think there's some regulations should be needed.
Okay, before I come to that, I just want to highlight some points you made in your submission where you talk about pressure points that are unique to Singapore. You highlighted a few, which include racial tensions, religious conflict, immigration perception, class divide, etc. I'd just like to check with you that do you think that just because there are no significant crises in Singapore so far, that the dangers potentially posed by the pressure points that you mentioned mean that that the likelihood of such crisis happening is low, and or even that the pressure points do not exist. Would you agree with such a view?
The pressure points I mentioned is likely to happen.
Likely to happen.
Yeah.
You believe that they exist, right?
I believe they exist, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you believe that they can potentially lead to disharmony and crisis situations in Singapore?
Disharmony, crisis, or violence and all that, yes.
Even when, in your view, or rather a view shared by some others, that there is no significant crisis of that magnitude so far in Singapore?
Yes, I can say that.
So you feel that they pose dangers?
Yeah.
Okay, I'd like to go to the section in your submission where you talk about what to do to prevent the spread of online falsehoods. You make 4 specific suggestions. The first is where you suggested, for example, that Facebook needs to take down illegal content within 24 hours once they uncover it or it is reported to them. Do you feel that there needs to be legislative powers for the government to be able to compel them to take down the illegal content if they do not wish to do so?
Yeah, actually, I think that within 24 hours, Facebook should be given notice to take down whatever of the false content. If they don't do it, I think the government should come in and intervene, like what happened to Mr. Prakash. I mean, there was a false allegation, but there was no intervention from the government at that point of time. Even Facebook, but only by the person who posted it changed the face. But there was actually no intervention at that time. So government should come in with legislation to protect the people.
Okay. On your second point, you mentioned that there should be an Honest Ads Act, where those who pay for political or socially related advertisements need to declare their identities, and this is to prevent anonymous entities from buying ads to stoke tensions without having to reveal their private motives. That is your second recommendation.
Yes.
Okay. And on your third and the fourth, you are of the view that government, affected parties, you also talk about grassroots leaders and MPs, should clarify, address online falsehoods via various mediums. Yes. Because you feel that these are people in positions of power with some public influence.
Yeah.
But would you agree that if there are many falsehoods or if they happen frequently, that if we were just to rely on the approach of clarifications by government, grassroots leaders, MPs, that it might be quite a taxing situation, especially in situations where there are a large number of such falsehoods?
Yes, I actually agree with that. That's why paragraph 4, I say, I even put there, who can rectify the inaccuracies, like even grassroots leaders or important thoughts of leaders in Singapore, actually. And actually, the other one is also VWOs and those organizations who are working on the ground. They are closer to the people. They also should know what's happening. And if the MP or the government can pass down the message to them, say this is false, something which you can disseminate to the ground, will be very helpful in the timing.
Understand. But what happens in situations where there are a high number of falsehoods? If we were to rely just solely on
I think it depends on what kind of falsehood. Some of the how sensitive is that issue. Some I think you have to put it in as a urgent method to be dissolved. Some maybe you can put it as a lower category. So it depends on what kind of falsehood, what kind of message they are passing it.
But I guess to cite the event that Mr. Prakash unfortunately faced, the online falsehood was sent around 44,700 times, whereas the truth was sent around 3 times. I mean, it could be that not for want of lack of trying, that even then where there are officials or grassroots leaders or other influencers, when they share the truth, that truth may not be spread to the same outreach and the same speed, or to clarify and to debunk the falsehood that initially started the whole process. Would you agree with that?
I agree, but I think some measures should be taken in place. If he has made a police report, I think the police should follow up.
Yes.
And try to see how you can solve the problem and come back with an answer. And I think if you escalate higher, he can go up to the ministry level. And if it's very serious, I like 43,000 is quite a big number, not a small number. Yeah.
Yes, I guess what I'm saying is that it doesn't have to be exclusive measures. That while there can be influences, the word that you use,
yes.
Clarifying, debunking falsehoods, at the same time, there should be legislative action or
to
powers,
place,
if needed, in place. And also there should be some, I guess, personal agency, personal action in that sense. But I guess personal action taken on its own may have limited outreach. I think the word Mr. Prakash used was the common man. The resources and the clout that's available to the common man may be quite limited.
Limited, yes.
Yes. Okay, Chairman.
There be no further questions. Okay, I'd like to thank both witnesses, Mr. Prakash and Mr. Mohan.